The draft copy of a review into the HS2 high-speed railway linking London and the north of England says it should be built despite its rising cost. The government commissioned this review back in August, the results of which won't be published until after the election, but it explains that the project might cost even more than the current £88 billion. Members of the panel which produced the review have told the BBC that the draft recommends that HS2 should be built with only relatively minor alterations. Now, Penny Gaines is the chair of Stop HS2 and she joins me on the line now. So, Penny, first of all, what are your reactions to what we found out in this leaked report today?
Well, I think it shows that the report was a cynical election ploy meant to get rid of opposition to HS2 during the election campaign, because it was being kept quiet until the moment that the Brexit Party announced they're not standing against Conservatives. That means all the people along Phase 1 who might otherwise consider voting for the Brexit Party, who are against HS2, don't have that alternative. But when you go back to the report itself, the review's been led by a former chair of HS2 Limited, and suddenly it says, oh yeah, HS2 should go ahead, regardless of the cost, no matter how much it's going up by. The rest of the review panel apparently have had no input into producing the final report. You've got Tony Barclay, who is supposed to be co-chair, who's talking about producing his own report, but obviously will come to a different conclusion to Doug Oakerby. It just looks like it's being done as a stitch-up, really. The former chair of HS2 Limited comes up and says HS2 is a good idea, and without actually looking at it properly.
Now, obviously, I'm aware of what's going on in Buckinghamshire. I mean, we covered what's been happening in, I think it was Great Missenden last week, with some work that's been happening. It's either Great Missenden or Little Missenden. Apologies if I've got it the wrong way round. And we know what's going to happen with the Chilterns, potentially with this. I used to play for Wendover Cricket Club, which is impacted on this. When it says relatively minor alterations, do we know what that means? Could that mean the route changes in Buckinghamshire at all?
That doesn't seem likely. It's gone through the hybrid build process, so they're very, very limited as to what they can actually do changes-wise. So it's difficult to know what they're talking about without actually having seen the report itself. But a lot of the decisions that were baked in right from the start, so right at the very start, they decided they weren't going to do any stations in Buckinghamshire or anywhere along the route between London and Birmingham. And to make changes now, that will add billions to the cost, and it's still not a good idea. So you've got this project. It was supposed to cost $33 billion originally. It keeps going up and up. They're talking about $88 billion plus. And you have to say, well, it might have been a good idea when it was $33 billion. I disagree, obviously. But as you go up, they're saying, well, actually, no, it's still a good idea. No, it's still a good idea. No, it's still a good idea, no matter how much they're spending on it.
So from your point of view as Stop HS2, and I'm aware of your work. I used to work for Buckinghamshire County Council back when the 51M stuff was happening, when the council, led by Martin Tett, was trying to stop this from happening. So I know this has been something that Buckinghamshire has been campaigning for a long, long time. As Stop HS2, what can you do? Because as you said, it's gone past royal assent now. This review has now come out, albeit leaked, and said that it should still be built. So is it just a matter for you as Stop HS2 of trying to just get the best of a bad situation for Buckinghamshire?
No, it's got another hurdle it's got to jump, which is it's got to get notice to proceed, which is the bit that says we can stop doing it, or we can go on and actually start constructing it, and it hasn't got that yet. And to get that, there's three elements of it, one of which is affordability, one of which is a revised economic case, and one of which is management capability. Now, nobody seems to think that HS2 Limited have got good management. So it's not going to pass that. The economic case is failing. The affordability is failing. It is at the point where it is very easy to cancel still. They can just say, actually, now I've had a good look at it, we don't think it's worth doing any longer, and just cancel it. So there is still a really good chance that it can be cancelled. And that's why some of the things like at Great Missenden, like at Steeple Claydon, is so important to keep the contractors for HS2 Limited from causing environmental damage.
So it sounds like you've still got a little bit of ground for optimism here.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a really good ground for optimism. I think that the more things like this come out, the fact that the co-chair of the review he's asked to have his name taken off it. So that says that it's not a review that everybody agrees with within the panel. So there's a really good grounds for optimism. We're hopeful. We're definitely still hopeful. And it's just a case of someone having the political courage to say, actually, no, let's cancel it. Let's look at the real transport needs and let's focus on what people actually need.